Everybody, am I hearable?
I can hear you, Mark.
Okay, good. All right. To get this going, I would like everybody to be aware that tonight is the last time I'll be speaking about this ballot access issue in anticipation results, which I've been doing every month since August of 2. Everybody knows the situation. Everybody knows the stake. But we have just a couple of weeks to get through and to do the best that we. So I want everybody to know what I've been up to. I've talked to a bunch of you, but not all of you. I've got a project called the Crescendo Project. The Crescendo Project is about contacting all of our contactable people in the city CRM database, which is a bunch. I've done a lot of work the last several weeks getting um, learning how to drive the Civi CRM better than I ever have before. And I think I've done a pretty good job. Uh, Hold on a second. I'm going to give you a website to go to. Okay, this is part of it. What you'll see at this web page is not a whole lot of information. It's mostly about um, a planning tool and a communication tool for me to keep my head screwed on straight and to talk to you as best I can when I can't be one to one with all of you. What's happening right now? Uh, if you look at the link up there that says CRM statistics, you'll see how I've broken the CRM data into four large pieces. This these four pieces have to do with the method we have to talk to people in the CRM. They are text, email, telephone, and postal mailing. Uh, I've got things going on. Uh, Zach has already developed the email part of this, and we've been using his expertise to do that. We've gotten out one email so far from Wayne Rock, who is the Chase campaign coordinator here in Georgia, and we're going to have more. As far as text, we're trying to do the same thing, but we haven't quite done it yet. As far as phoning goes, we are going to attempt to contact every one of our phonable contacts by telephone, and we will be looking for volunteers to help do phone banks because we're going to try to contact 8,300 people here in the next 2.5 weeks. It's going to take a lot of effort. I want all of you to step in and help us out with that. Wayne Rock knows how to do that, and you're going to learn a lot from Wayne, and Wayne will talk about more about that in a couple minutes when it's his time. The biggest, most labor-intensive part of this is postal mailing. Let's see. I'm going to give you a link. If you go to the postal mailing link, which is, I'll put the text link in chat. The postal mailing link outlines this massive postal mailing that we're doing, which is over 15,000 possibilities. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that yet. It's going to take a lot of money. All of that is quantified or specified there at that page, and you can review it yourself. I have broken the data up by county, and there are links at the bottom where you can order this by the county name alphabetically and by the population of our contacts in each county, which run from over 1,900 to Fulton County down to 0 for a handful of counties. Uh, and and so you can see that breakdown yourself. And that's the main other than phone calling people, I need help raising the money for postage. So I'd like for all of y'all to look at that list and see how you can help me get up the money to pay for postage. We've got to get this out in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a huge and heavy lift. Uh, I don't know if we'll be able to do it all, but we can go as far as we can. So if you can take a single county and say, I'm going to sponsor this county, please, there's a link there for you to give me a donation. It's all pretty clear. If it's not to you, everybody knows how to contact me. So that is the Crescendo project. We're going to do our best. I am at the moment organizing flash mob meetups. We've got one scheduled for Wednesday in Cartersville with Mitch and all his guys up there. We're going to be addressing and labeling cards for mailing. And by the time we complete that flash mob, we should be on the order of about 1,000 pieces mailed out. I want you to help me organize other flash mobs. I'll go anywhere in the state. Get in touch with me and tell me. I'd love to do one in all portions of the state. So if somebody like in Athens, for instance, can put something like this together, I will drive up there with plenty of cards. But I do need you to help me get the postage. Okay, the postage is the biggest expense involved in this, and so it's all clarified there. There's a lot going on. I know I haven't covered all the details. I don't have time for it. So call me, email me, text me, send me smoke signals if you must, and I will get back to you, and we'll work something out. I really, really need your help organizing these flash mobs. Andrea Holt, I will drive way up there to Northwest Georgia and help you out. So you just tell me, okay? And we'll make that happen. Same thing for any of the rest of you. So that's a Crescendo project. Other than that, I would like to say that I walked the Pride Parade yesterday. It was a great experience. We had a large crowd. I mean, when I say crowd, I mean those of us who were gathered around the truck. We handed out literature. I enjoyed the crowd. The crowd was a happy and festive, smiling group of people, and I especially appreciate all of you who were helping me to distribute literature. Particularly, I enjoyed seeing Brian and Laura Williams out there with me, giving out literature to people. That was very heartening to work with y'all and doing that. And I hope we do more work like that in the future. It is sorely needed. This is the kind of work we need to do to turn and face the world. All right. Wow, that's a lot. Okay. This is the last time I'll speak to you as a body. Before we know the final results, the next time we have a meeting, we will know if what we will have the results in hand of whether or not will have been able to retain our ballot access, and I will just respond to that. So I thank you all for the help you've given me. Please give Chase your best in the next couple of weeks. All of you know what's at stake. And with that said, oh, I see this thing from Elizabeth. Elizabeth, I will drive out there to Columbus. You just get with me and we will make this happen. We're going to have a great time. All right. So with that, I'll just leave that for any comments or questions. I think, Mitch, did you have a question or comment?
I had a comment, Mark. I just wanted to invite everyone to come out to Cartersville Wednesday night, October the 16th at 7 p.m. at the Mellow Mushroom in downtown Cartersville. We're going to stamp and post the Chase Oliver for President postcards. And we'd love to have you all there.
Yes, and I will have plenty of cards and I'll have plenty of peel and stick address labels for the area. And if anybody around Cartersville wants to do something that's not Bartow Polk or Floyd County, let me know, and I'll print. Put the posters together. I'll print up the address labels, and we'll get those out too. Cartersville, and Mitch has the address for the Mellow Mushroom. All right. So, any other questions, comments? All right. So, I will close on that note. I'll just say for the next 2.5 weeks, guys, please give Chase your all. He has worked so hard to be where he's at. There's a lot riding on his shoulders. And so please help us out. And so I'm finished. Let's move on.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. All right. Wayne, is it Rock?
Rock. Hey there.
Rock. Hey, if you're on the call, the floor is yours, and you can take it away.
Appreciate it. Hey, everyone. My name's Wayne. I'm not going to take up too much of your time because I got another meeting to jump on right after this. But I'm the new acting campaign director here for Georgia. I'm pretty new to the LP, but I am very seasoned when it comes to campaigning. So I'm very happy to be working with this amazing team here in Georgia. I also want to make it a point to leave my number here in the chat so y'all can reach out to me personally. I want to get more involved and understand with what's happening on the ground with the party outside of the campaign. So I'll make sure to leave my number here. But it's a pleasure to meet you all, and look forward to working with all of you continuously. So I'm going to give you a quick bunch of updates about the campaign. Many of which Mark has already shared, but the campaign is moving forward pretty strategically given the time that we have. So the key actions in place, I'm working with Mark to make sure that we align on the Crescendo project. One of the primary objectives for this is to distribute about 10,000 cards as part of our broader initiative to increase the awareness and engagement with not just Chase's campaign, but the Libertarian Party of Georgia as a whole and the constituents that we have. It's a pretty crucial step in building momentum and reinforcing the message beyond Chase's campaign. So, November 5th is going to be just the beginning of the work that we have to continue doing. And that's what I have in mind for the work that we're doing. So in terms of strategic targeted outreach, we're leveraging the Libertarian Party of Georgia's CRM database to contact everyone listed. I want to make sure as the campaign director that we're focused on data-driven metrics, because this will only help us beyond the campaign. If we don't have the numbers, we don't have much. So I need something to work with, and having a numbers-based approach right now is critical. We're working with this foundation. I am coordinating closely with Michelle to set up regular and consistent phone banking sessions into the state. It's going to be calling numbers across Georgia, ensuring that the campaign message is heard, ensuring that the ballot access message is also heard. This is pretty vital. Looking ahead for the GOTV initiatives that are now underway, the goal is to contact 8,300 approximately people. These are all people already listed in the CRM. We want to make sure that we're not wasting volunteers' times calling into dead numbers, that we're calling into active lists. So it's a larger voter engagement strategy, not only to mobilize libertarian supporters, but also undecided or formerly libertarians that are kind of swallowed up in the Trump Harris conversation, to bring them back into thinking about the Libertarian Party, libertarian candidates, and libertarian values beyond the election. Hold on, let me go through my notes here. So overall, the campaign goal is to make sure that we are sending mail out, and lastly, making sure that we're able to outreach to as many people as possible. multiple touches is usually the best way to go. So mailing, calling them is kind of the name of the game right now. I did come into the party pretty late, so we're doing what we can to make sure that we make the biggest impact and also have the highest level of investment in the campaign as a ratio of the calls and the contacts that we've made. So I want to make sure that our arm reaches far and wide and deep enough, given that, the fact is that we're working with very limited resources at the moment, and we're trying to make this engine chug. And I'm very hopeful for what we're able to do, because we have been able to do a lot. And just a positive thing that I also want to bring up is walking around at the Pride Parade with such a large contingent, such a beautifully decorated truck. It was just very powerful to see the positive response from the crowd. People were very open to taking the literature. We went through most of our literature. We still have a bunch of posters to give away, but these are all good problems to have. I'm very excited coming out of this in the next couple of days to see, to check specifically how much we gave away, how curious people are, because I am very sure that we have planted seeds of change in a lot of the people that we distributed literature to. A lot of folks that we talked to along this route weren't sure that the Libertarian Party was even participating, and to see that the LP has been moving forward with a candidate like Chase was actually invigorating. It made people smile, and it made people excited, and that was just wonderful to see. So generally, given the resources that we have, I'm very excited for what we're able to do, with the understanding that this is only the beginning and we have a lot of work ahead of us beyond November. I'm happy to take some questions, but also, again, I'm still figuring out a lot of the internal pieces and internal ways that we're doing things here in the LP. So forgive me if I don't have all the answers for you right now as well.
Thanks, Wayne. The floor is open. If anyone has any questions. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions for you, but we appreciate what you're doing. Thank you so much for serving on the campaign. I'm sure that will be tons of help.
I do actually have a comment. Sorry. One last thing before I hop. In order to call to 8,300 people in Georgia and reinvigorate these lists, I really, I'm imploring y'all, if y'all are able to dedicate time, or no family, friends, whomever that's able to dedicate at least like a minimum of 2 hours for a GOTV period to make these calls, we can actually knock through our entire CRM list in a week and a half if we get about 20 people. And out of all the libertarians I know in Georgia, we can get 20 people, and we can knock that list out. Because again, what I have in my mind is this isn't just about Chase. It's about what happens as well after a November the 5th, right? We need to bring back that support. We need to start invigorating these lists and having them be more engaged. And this is the perfect opportunity on the heels of this campaign to be able to do that. So if y'all are able to, please donate your time or send me contact details of the people that you know that would like to volunteer. I would love to get in touch with them, and I am going to put my number here in the chat. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And I guess while we're at it, please do volunteer if you have time, if you know people who have time. I know everybody is stretched thin, but these are important things. So if you can, get yourself out there and help making these calls. Thanks again, Wayne. We do appreciate what you're doing. I'm going to, on this agenda, I see that Brian Sells and I think Martin, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. since these guys are on the call and I want to respect their time, I'm going to ask if there's any objection to switching the funding the appeal for Calvin V. Raffensperger as shown on the screen, just for the sake of their time. Hearing none, the agenda has been amended. We will hear from Martin and Brian, whatever you guys want to do.
Let me
However-
let me just say I've sent everybody that I could whose email I could find an email explaining my view. But since the lawyer is here, I would like for Brian Sells to speak to us. Go ahead, Brian.
Thanks, Martin, and thanks everyone for allowing me in to talk. I think I know a good many of you, but maybe not everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Brian Sells. I'm a voting rights and election lawyer based in Atlanta, but my practice is national in scope. I've been representing the Libertarian Party of Georgia since 2017 in a challenge to the 5% petition requirement for non-presidential candidates in Georgia. And I also represent now a more recent case, the Libertarian Party in a challenge to Georgia's discriminatory campaign finance laws that limit leadership committees to Democrats and Republicans explicitly. But I'm here tonight to talk about the ballot access case challenging the 5% petition rule. And the case is, as I said, was filed in 2017 and is still going. It has been through 2 appeals, and it is in need of a 3rd appeal to deal with what is left of the case, which is our claim that the 5% petition requirement was enacted for a discriminatory purpose. We put forward evidence that the petition requirement was adopted in 1943 to prevent communists from getting on the ballot. And some of you helped put forward evidence that in 1986, it was maintained for the purpose of keeping libertarians off the ballot. And the district court didn't address any of that evidence and basically said that that it wasn't even going to address our discriminatory purpose claim. And that's why I believe that an appeal is necessary and appropriate here. Even though 3 appeals is a lot, frankly, the district judge was sloppy and hurried in her analysis, and I think is vulnerable again on appeal. She's been reversed twice, and I think she should be reversed a 3rd time. The reason that we're here tonight is because I would like for the party to authorize the appeal, first of all, and as part of the original retainer agreement that I signed with the party has agreed to pay my out-of-pocket costs. My attorney's fees are all on me, but the party in 2017 agreed to pay my out-of-pocket costs, and there would be some out-of-pocket costs associated with the appeal. Those would be the printing costs and shipping costs associated with the paper copies that are required of the brief. I imagine that in our first round of briefing, those would be about $2,000 and would come either in December or January of December of this year or January of next year. And then there would be some amount of cost, much less than that, maybe $500 to $1,000 for printing the reply brief. And that would probably be in the March to April timeframe. There's a possibility down the road, if we lose the appeal, that the Court of Appeals could order the plaintiffs to pay for the other side's printing costs. The other side hasn't asked for those in the previous two appeals. I can't guarantee that they wouldn't ask for them in the third, but those printing costs would be less than our printing costs. And so I think all in, we're looking at probably less than $5,000 total exposure on this appeal. I think the appeal is meritorious, although I can't say that I think it has a super high chance of success, but I do think it's worth doing. I'm willing to stand behind it with my time and effort at no cost to the party. And I think that it would be in the party's best interest to continue with the appeal, see this case out, because I do think that we should prevail even on our discriminatory purpose claim. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have. And Martin, is there anything you want to add to what I said?
Yes, I want to add something I put in my letter to everybody whose address I could find, that Ryan Graham will remember this, that we had to do this once before. We did a targeted fundraiser, one of those which has a little, a thermometer that goes up while you're reaching your goal. And we asked for $5,000. I think we got that money within 2 months. I mean, it was a very well responded to fundraiser. And I think that after the election, we should we do that targeted fundraiser, and I would guess we get the money within 2 months, the $5,000. And so I hope somebody will make the motion to, approve this appeal and expose the party to this potential of $5,000 cost. Thank you.
I guess my first question is the specific claims in this appeal, or I guess in the original case, what are they, and what is it accomplishing specifically for us? And then what's the opposite side of that if it gets, ruled against, dismissed, or whatever?
Let me jump in and give the quick, Brian, let me just say, first of all,
Sure.
I ran for Congress 2 or 3 times. I don't remember how many. It was horrible. Mark Mosley helped me get the signatures. I have to get 23,000 signatures in order to get on the ballot. And this lawsuit would, say that number is ridiculous, as in fact it is, and we wouldn't have to get that many, be much less. We were looking at like 800 maybe. So that's the main issue. Now, Brian can answer your question more specifically.
Yeah, so we were challenging the 5% petition requirement specifically as applied to congressional candidates. And we did that because Georgia has not had a third party candidate for Congress on its ballot since the 5% petition requirement was instituted in 1943. The first phase of the case, which involved 2 separate appeals, was arguing in essence that the effect of those of the petition requirement was unconstitutional, that it was so burdensome that that it should violate the First and the 14th Amendment. And we put together, I believe, the most comprehensive record of its kind anywhere ever. And after the second appeal, the 11th Circuit said, well, in 2020, a district attorney candidate satisfied the 5% petition requirement. And so we think the burden for congressional candidates is fine, and we're going to uphold the law. That was the effect portion of our claim. We also have a purpose portion of our claim. Discriminatory effect, discriminatory purpose. And it's now the discriminatory purpose claim that we're appealing to the 11th Circuit. And, under the law, as I read it, under the First Amendment, a law that is enacted with a discriminatory purpose, in other words, the purpose of keeping libertarian candidates off the ballot or keeping Communist Party candidates off the ballot, should also violate the First Amendment. And that claim has really never been ruled on. And so we're asking for our day in court there. Given today's courts. Do I think that has a high likelihood of success? No. But I think we've got the evidence to support it. I think that we ought to get our day in court, and it's an argument that I have no hesitation in making. And I think it should be made, frankly, because if this law stands, there will never be a third party candidate on Georgia's congressional ballot ever. In case you're not aware, Georgia's 5% requirement is higher than any congressional candidate has ever satisfied in the history of the United States in any state. So there's really no evidence that a congressional candidate can satisfy it. It's just the 11th Circuit pointed to a district attorney candidate who had to gather 3,000 signatures, and they used that to say, well, maybe 23,000 isn't so bad. I think that was a ridiculous argument, but unfortunately, we're stuck with it. So that's where we are now. I haven't given up the fight yet. I think the discriminatory purpose evidence needs to be heard, and it's going to cost me probably 40 to 50,000 in my own attorney time. But my agreement with the party has always been that it covers my out-of-pocket costs. I totally understand you've got a budget to manage, and I don't want to prejudge your decision making on that. But I think you're getting a great value here if you do decide to move forward.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? Mr. Mosley?
Motion.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Is that just me?
No, I can't hear him either.
Okay.
Okay, how's that?
That's much better.
Okay. All right. If it's time, I have a motion to make to do with this issue. This is not a question.
Yeah, this is time. I think the time is perfectly fine. And it opens it up for more debate and discussion on top of it. So if you'd like to make a motion, I am entertaining it.
Okay. I move to authorize a fundraising initiative for legal cost to finance all the requisite needs of the Cowan v. Raffensperger case to begin immediately after the November 5th election. That's it.
If you have the text of that motion easily available, could you drop it in the chat?
That's a good call. Please do that.
Not easily, but I'll work it out.
Or
Yes.
if you read it again, I can type it out as you go.
Okay, I'll read it slowly. I move to authorize a fundraising initiative for legal cost to finance the requisite needs of the Cowan v. Raffensperger case to begin immediately after the November 5th, 2024 general election. Martin, please tell me if that sounds adequate for you.
Well, it sounds adequate. I assume you're authorizing the appeal and you're moving to authorize the appeal and to start the fundraiser.
Yeah.
There's two components there. So would you mind adding in the beginning of that, move to authorize the appeal and then what you said?
That would be
Okay.
that would be helpful.
Zane, are you ready for me to add this?
I think I've I've amended it for you, and so I'll drop my new version in the chat, and you can tell me if it's acceptable.
Okay.
Laura Williams put in the chat the motion.
Brian, you might have caught more details than I did. I was just trying to be helpful. Please feel free to ignore that.
Okay. Zane, what you wrote in chat looks fine to me. Or I'm sorry, Laura wrote that in chat.
Please hold.
Everyone stand at ease.
All right, you should be able to see it now.
Okay, it has been moved. Well, let's see. Does this satisfy you, Mr. Mosley? To authorize the appeal in the case of Cowan v. Raffensperger and a fundraising initiative for legal costs to finance the requisite needs to begin immediately after the November 5th, 2024 general election. Does that satisfy you,
That
Mr.
sounds
Mosley?
fine to me. I would like to make sure that that's what Martin needs. Martin and Brian, is this what you need?
Martin says yes. Brian says.
Whatever he's saying, it's on mute. There we go.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
It has
that's
been
good.
moved. It has been moved to authorize the appeal and
Second.
to authorize a fundraising initiative for legal costs to finance the requisite needs beginning after November 5th. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will take this to a vote. Those in favor of the motion to authorize this appeal and finance its requisite needs beginning November 5th. Let's see, 17. It's good enough. Y'all can lower your hands.
Mr. Varnell, your hand is up.
There are 4 hands still up from what
Although
it's
I only
telling
see
me.
one of them.
Mr. Varnell, you got 4 hands over there. Haha, magic. All right, those opposed. All right, I see none. The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the appeal has been authorized, and the fundraising initiative has been authorized as well. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you all so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. And y'all can drop.
I'm signing off.
Thanks. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye. I'm going.
All right. We are now to the part of the meeting where we will nominate our candidates to fill the executive committee vacancy. Mr. Placey, do you have the names available for us of the people who submitted themselves for their interest?
I do have the submitted names. Mark Douglas, Laura Owens, Sarah Arkins, and Sergio Ortega. Is there anyone else here that is not on the list that intends to be nominated?
Or does anyone have other nominations?
In that case, I nominate Mark Douglas, Laura Owens, Sarah Arkins, and Sergio Ortega to fill the vacancy on the executive committee.
All right. They are nominated. Mr. Craig.
Yeah, I just want to make sure they all met the requirements of being able to serve. Thank you.
I did verify that they all have, active memberships. There is a requirement that's been brought to my attention that they should also have attended a previous convention although I don't have really any way of verifying that, unfortunately. So if the candidates could affirm that they have, that would be very nice.
No, I did not attend the last convention.
It doesn't need to be the last convention. It just needs to be a convention.
I have attended a convention, just not the last one.
Okay, good.
I've attended last convention.
Okay. I see Laura as well.
Yes, I have attended the last 3 conventions.
We've seen you there. And was
Sarah,
on?
I have not. Yeah, I have not attended any of the conventions. I did not know that was a requirement.
We can. It is my understanding that we could waive that.
Is there any objection to waiving that requirement? Hearing none, Mr. Craig?
Yeah, I would like to object.
Okay. Then if somebody would like to make a motion, or we can leave it, and that would be done.
I move to waive it.
All right. Sounds like we're leaving it. Okay. Sorry, Sarah. We do hope you will stick around. We'd love to see you at the next convention. It will be, I believe, in February. So stay on the lookout for it. We'd love to see you there. It's always good to be on these meetings to see what's going on. I know when I was first coming in, I attended, I think, 4 or 5 meetings before jumping on. So it's always a good opportunity. So I hate that, but the bylaws have spoken.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Okay, so we have, that is 3 now, Mr. Placey?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 3 nominated individuals who meet the requirements for the executive committee vacancy. Are there any further nominations? Without objection, nominations are closed, and we'll move to hearing them speak on their reasons for wanting to be on the executive committee. So we can start in, Mr. Placey, would you mind giving us an order? I guess the order you started with, and we can just go in that direction.
Yes. So the order will be Mr. Douglas, then Ms. Owens, then Mr. Ortega.
Mr. Douglas, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for considering me for the executive committee. I'm humbled by the opportunity, especially since I had to step away from the party a few years ago to focus on my own family and get my own life in order. Now that my personal commitments are in a more stable place, I'm eager to dedicate my time and energy back to the Libertarian Party of Georgia. If you choose to vote for me on the executive committee, I want to be clear, I will not placate to individuals or engage in politics as usual. I believe we have multiple issues in the party that need to be addressed directly and transparently. To move forward, we need executive leadership that is unafraid to take on these challenges. Here's a 3-point plan that I intend to accomplish if elected. First, I want to strengthen our local chapters and grassroots structures. Many chapters are either under-resourced or inactive and have been hurting for the ability to grow as a viable political force. I would focus on building these local teams, providing toolkits, training, and initiatives to grow our membership and become a more active in their communities. Second, I would improve on candidate recruitment and support. We need candidates who are both well-prepared and capable of winning, not just running symbolic campaigns. My plan is to establish a comprehensive training program, ensure that our candidates have all the tools that they need to succeed, from messaging and fundraising to debate preparation and voter outreach. Finally, I want to promote transparency and accountability. With our party leadership, we need a clear line of communication between members and executive committee so that everyone understands the strategies, successes, and setbacks. I'll push for open meetings, regular progress updates, and member feedback to keep us on the same page and working towards common goals. I'm ready to dedicate myself fully to the growth of this party and to make the changes that we need in order to move forward. If you place your trust in me, I will work tirelessly to ensure that the Libertarian Party of Georgia becomes a force for real change. Thank you for your consideration.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Douglas. We will go to the next person in line.
Hi, I'm Laura Owens. I've been the chair of the Libertarian Party of Savannah affiliate for going on 4 years now. I think I mentioned last time what my qualifications were, that I've worked on a couple of political campaigns, including petitioning, which is difficult, as we all know, and also serving as chair of a large affiliate. This time I'm going to discuss more what my vision is for the party. I do have experience with keeping people motivated, even when things seem difficult or hopeless. I'm the type of person who doesn't give up without a fight. I think no matter what the issue is, no matter how big or insurmountable the odds may seem, I keep people motivated, and I'm the type who doesn't give up without a fight. There's always something we can do, particularly at the local level, to fight some of the bad policies that we're working against here in Georgia. My vision is that I would love to see the Libertarian Party of Georgia grow. When I see that map that highlights in gold all of the counties that have at least one affiliate, I would like to turn that entire map gold. And I don't think that's too far-fetched of a goal. I think we have the tools to accomplish that. We just need to use them properly. I believe especially with Civi, if we really put in the time and effort to work those lists in Civi and to contact lapsed members and encourage every person that we recruit to do likewise and recruit other people. And if we engage in outreach, which the Savannah affiliate has been good at doing, we frequently do tabling at local events every opportunity we get. We've been doing that. And I think if we continue to do that, there's no reason why we can't have the crazy high membership numbers that Mark Mosley keeps telling us we used to have back in the day. I don't see any reason why we can't go back to that. There is strength in numbers, and I think growing the membership like that would be extremely valuable for getting things done. As we know, more hands make lighter work. It'd be a lot easier for us to accomplish our goals at the local and state level. If local affiliates and the state party, if we have that solid membership base to do that. So that is my plan. It's just to motivate people to put in the effort to try to seriously put the work in to grow the party. And I think we can do that. There's no reason why we can't go back to the high membership numbers that we had in the past. And that also gives us a larger pool from which to draw candidates from. The more members we have, the more people there are who might be interested in becoming candidates, and the more teams of support those candidates will have. And it's the main thing I'm interested in. Of course, I'm willing to serve on wherever I'm needed, whatever committee is the most in need of help. I'm willing to go there. But what I would like to see is just utilizing tools for outreach to really grow the party. That's what I would like to do. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, you are muted.
I just saw it. Thank you. I believe we're moving on to Sergio Ortega.
Hi, guys. So I'm not going to talk too much because you guys heard me rant last time this happened. My name is Sergio. I'm a volunteer in LP Georgia and my local affiliate. I got a lot of projects that I've got taking up my time and that I'm helping to grow the party. I'm going to take this time to explain those projects again. I talked last time about the You Are the Power project, where I've got a stack of pre-written letters like this that I'm taking to a convention in Cartersville with the LP Bartow affiliate that Mitchell runs. going to have people sign those letters and mass mail them to Brian Kemp's office and to the DFACS commissioner. I'm expecting around 50 or so signed letters, which is a lot to have flood your mailbox. And it's, harder to get rid of those than it would be email, because email, you can just hit the little delete icon and all those emails are gone. For actual mail, you have to have a staffer sift through that and make sure they're not throwing away, bills, communications from other offices and things like that. So I'm here to disrupt Brian Kemp's office as best as I can. In Halloween, I've got Rome is having an event to hand out candy along the major streets. I've got a stack of small leaflets about LP Georgia that I've printed out pretty cheaply that I plan to hand out there. And they're so cheap, in fact, that I kind of plan to, if this goes well, to print more out and to go to neighborhoods that RCV says have a lot of, people that have took interest to our party, and to tape these handouts to those mailboxes to, spread the word even more beyond a Halloween event. I've also got Chase Rack cards that I'm planning to hand out at that event. So in general, my goal is to focus on groundwork. Last time I said I'm an ideas guy. Now I'm going to say I'm a foot soldier. My bread and butter is putting things together. If the affiliates need help, I'll be there. If the candidates need help, I'll be there. What I lack in experience, I make up for in eager goals and hard work. And really, that's my candidacy. That's my everything.
Awesome. I see a hand up. Is that Andrea?
Yes, that's me. I was just wondering if we could ask any questions of the candidates.
Yes, but let's keep it brief.
All right. My first question goes to Laura. Laura, have you ever been removed from base camp for bullying and harassing other members?
No, I have not.
Thank you. Sergio, I have the same question of you.
No, I have not.
Thank you. And Mark, I have the same question for you.
No, I have not.
Were you ever asked to not reply back to people on base camp because of bullying and harassment? That question is directed towards Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not hear my first answer? I said no.
All right. I am just going to put it out there that I was part of that group that requested that you be removed from base camp because of your harassment and bullying. So, and you were removed at that point in time. So I'm just asking, at this point, what has changed that you would give the courtesy of treating people with respect in base camp?
Did you hear my speech? I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to make friends. You guys have failed for the last 50 years, and I'm here to help.
I think we're going to leave it there. Is there any objection to doing this through OPA vote using ranked choice voting? Hearing none, we will take this to a vote through OPA vote. Mr. Placey, if you would organize that, we would greatly appreciate it. And we will see the results next month.
Yes, I will do that. And just one piece that you may have been missing from what you just said is customary, although not required, for the executive committee ballot to last 1 week. So without objection, we will use 1 week as the voting period for this ballot.
Love it. All right. Moving on to the next thing, is there any objection to moving the Project Decentralized Revolution before the Joint Fundraising Committee questions? Mr. Craig?
The question is, how long is that event going to take?
It'll take 45 minutes.
Holy cow. How long will the JFC event take?
15.
I have to be honest, I'd prefer to do the 15th because I don't particularly want to listen to Michael Heiss speak. I'd prefer to keep it as it is. I've got more
Okay.
important things to do.
All right, I will entertain the motion then. Anyone? Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Chairman, I move to, I don't know, amend the agenda as you
That's correct.
stated.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second?
I believe there was a second.
You got a second.
Mr. Richards.
Okay, I didn't
Yes.
hear it. Thanks, guys. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the agenda to move the Project Decentralized Revolution conversation next. Is there any debate?
Mr. Chair, I don't think this is debatable.
Oh, amending the agenda is not debatable. Wow, okay. All right,
Question?
then we will move directly to a vote. Those in favor, please
Can I
indicate
ask a
so.
question?
It's not debatable. So
It's not a debate. It's a question.
It would be in order for a point of parliamentary inquiry at this time.
Yes. What is the JFC questions item on the agenda that we would be moving?
yeah, Mr. Barker had asked a few questions that they be put on the agenda. And in respect of that, I have placed that on the agenda to deal with those.
But what is
And to open
JFC?
up to other questions as well.
So what does JFC stand for?
Joint Fundraising Committee.
Ah, thank you.
Thanks. Okay. We are now moving to a vote. Those in favor of amending the agenda, please indicate so by raising your hands.
Five.
Let's see, 5. All right. Lower your hands. Those opposed?
Seven.
All right. I see 7. The motion fails and the agenda is not amended. All right. We will move now to the JFC questions. Mr. Barker, you had a few that you had mentioned before. If you'd like to bring those forward, that would be wonderful. And then we can start with those and move from there.
I've pretty much posted a version of what I sent to you, Brian and Zane, in the chat. So, still breaking it out into 3 parts is information regarding the contract itself, clarify when it's effective, does it have preset termination dates, is it unilaterally cancelable, and has the legality of the fund been determined? And then secondly, recommendations for use of any money received. We don't know what we're getting. It's speculative, but how are we going to budget? We're having unbudgeted income, so we need to think about the expenses. So that's it. It's in the
okay, love it.
chat. So
yeah, so the effective date would be when it is signed, which should happen this week. The termination date is February 2025. It is not unilaterally cancelable, but the contract does have the by mutual agreement clause in it. So it can be canceled by mutual agreement, and any changes can be done by mutual agreement. As far as the use of the money, I would recommend any funds be put toward the CRM. I've heard some options of putting it toward a federal candidate for a ballot access lawsuit for trying to get to the 7,500 signatures so that we could push forward to, I guess, start a new case to say that 7,500 signatures should be the standard across the board for all statewide races and all federal races as well. So those are the big pieces of that. And obviously, as you said, this is unbudgeted income. It could be anywhere from 1,000 to some states have already gotten 5,000, 6,000, and it's continuing to come in. So theirs could double. Obviously, we don't get anything from their time in the Joint Fundraising Committee. But that is kind of where it lands. So obviously with that, there are no expenses that come along with it. So we're looking at just what the income would be, and we wouldn't want to rely on that for budgeting purposes. It would kind of be icing on the cake, if you will. Does that cover those questions, Mr. Barker?
Except for the legality of it, unless I missed it, but I don't think you mentioned it. There was some concern about the legal issues of having this, and
yeah,
has that been determined?
I'm going to turn off my camera because I'm not hearing you come through perfectly well. But yes, for that, the Team Kennedy has confirmed with their attorneys that this is all legal. It fits within the federal code and the FEC guidance and regulations. This is a standard thing the Joint Fundraising Committee is. And so it's been done numerous times. So this is not anything new. It's been around for about 100 years. As far as the legality on that side or being sued or anything, the Democratic Party has been extremely litigious over the past year with Team Kennedy. And so they were very careful about how they chose to do this, about how they set it up. And if something would have happened, it would have happened already because of the Democrats' litigiousness toward his campaign. So as far as legality and I guess legal protection, they've already thought through it and they're convinced that it is legal and good to go. Is that good for you?
Yeah. And there's a couple other people with questions, so I'm good for now.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yep. We'll go to Mr. Craig first.
So far we have not signed an agreement. So our cut of the money will not start until we sign the agreement, correct?
That's correct.
All right. The next question, do we know yet on any of the states that have received money? Is that for a 30, 60, 90 day, 120 day allotment? Do we have any idea?
Weeks.
For a 6 week, and that was $5,000 for 6 weeks?
Yes, sir.
That is correct. Can somebody send me that link or show me that in writing? Because I've been begging for that information for weeks now, and I've yet to find it anywhere at all. I would appreciate it. And that's all the questions I got. Thank you guys.
Sure. Yeah, it's actually in the Basecamp chat, pretty far up in that chat. So you can find it in there, just the numbers on it. Obviously, this comes from talking with chairs and treasurers from other states. We could ask for their documents and their bank statements, but I'm not going to do that. But yes, I can verify that it is 5,000 for one state and 6,200 for another. Okay, Ms. Austin.
Sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Mosley.
I've got one question and one point I want to make. I think that we should all be skeptical about what's stated by the Kennedy people about the legality of this. It is premature. Let me explain. I've gone in and I've looked at the FEC disclosures for the Kennedy Victory Fund. It was actually formed in January of this year. they made disclosures for standard or federal committee up until June. In July, the LNC opened up this whole matter with us. The legality issue, I contend,
Mr. Mosley,
I'm not a lawyer.
Mr. Mosley, do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay. Would you mind just very quickly running through whatever you're saying and then get to a question? We do have the next piece, and I do want to be respectful of everyone else's time. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll make my question first. So I'll just interrupt what I just said. My question is, we keep speaking of an agreement that has been made. And I think that agreement needs to be made public. So somewhere, these joint fundraising committees do make agreements among all the participants. Since we are one of the participants, it should be made public among us what that agreement is. So I'm requesting of you, Jared, to make that public to us so we can all read the text of it and come to our own conclusions about what this is about. Now, I'm not going to finish my previous point that I was going to make. I'll be making this point more public over time. I think the legality of this has yet to be determined. And the reason is because the disbursements from that fund have not been disclosed yet. And I will leave it at that. I'll open that question for all of you to start researching. And I'll have more to say about that later. That's all.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the Project Decentralized Revolution. We'll go to Mr. Heiss.
Mr. Heiss, you have 45 minutes.
All right. Get my screen going here. All right. There we go. All right. So I am here to discuss an electoral strategy that has been adopted by the National Libertarian Party. And I am going around and talking to all 50 states about it, trying to raise awareness of it, see what states I can get to buy into this strategy, and the support materials that have been created for it as well. So I'll be stopping at certain points and asking questions, seeing if anyone has questions for me. And I especially want to hear from the skeptics as we go through, because really what this is designed to do is kind of create the ground relationship between national and state parties. So I suspect that this is the first time in a while that anybody from national has kind of knocked on your door and said, hey, let's talk about how to work together. Let's talk about strategy. That's kind of been the common feedback moving forward from the states that I've already talked to. So the skeptics are who I want to hear from. The strategy is called Project Decentralized Revolution. I've written a full strategic manifesto on this that can be read at this link down here. So if you just Google that, it's 40 pages, pretty comprehensive. Now, before I actually get into the strategy, I want to go over those support materials, because I'm not just coming here and saying, hey, here's some more work for you to do. Again, this is about how to create a collaborative relationship. So I want to start with the support materials. Number one is the one-stop shop spreadsheet. I'm going to try to go quickly within the 45 minutes here. Now, the one-stop shop spreadsheet is something that is, I can email over to you guys. But essentially, it is a comprehensive website of just a whole shitload of information for any of the states. So this is, general information on campaign finance, signatures needed, how to ballot initiatives work, what is your 4-year election cycle, how to find all the elections in your state for every state. That's the first part. The second part is contact information for every single House rep that was elected by Young Americans for Liberty. So if you start getting involved in the issue coalition work that is described later in the presentation, this is going to be a good place to start to find potential allies. And then the last thing is there is a sheet here for every single state And what has been created is contact information for every county level elections office in the entire country. And again, that's going to come into play for this strategy later on here in the presentation. But that's just one material. Let me kick this up now. All right. Second thing is the Candidate Support Committee charter. This is something that I'm working with right now. A lot of times what has happened with these committees at national is that the committees themselves are kind of left to their own devices to determine their purpose, which then turns into kind of a tragedy of the commons problem, resulting in the entire committees becoming do nothing and not effective. And what's going to be different about this is there's already been a charter written for what actions the committee is going to be taken because of the fact that the National Libertarian Party has already endorsed this strategy. So we'll get into what the specific text that the committee is going to be doing later. But it's all about facilitation and support of the strategy with the state parties. The Candidate Support Survey. This is a survey that has already been developed, that has already been going out, should be in your box, in the candidates email box right now. This is a comprehensive survey designed to get candidates on the radar of the Candidate Support Committee, and so that they can start interviewing them and providing material and promotional support to them. Again, as we'll discuss later, there is a campaign associated with a national campaign associated with this strategy. And there's been a website created for that already called Run Locally. So that's going to give you the gist of the focus of the campaign. We'll get to the why here soon. Voter Gravity is probably the most important of these. Voter Gravity is a set of campaign tools that help with smart door knocking, text banking, phone banking, all of that kind of stuff. And that is currently being subsidized by the National Party. So that is made available for very cheap for the candidates. Estimates in general are $50 to $100 a month. And but the bigger thing here is that the state party, if they fill out the link that's linked here, can apply for one of these accounts and get it for absolutely free. And what you get if you get Voter Gravity for your state is information on every single voter in the entire state. We're talking wealth screened information, issue interest information, demographic information, voter affiliation, voter frequency information, all kinds of stuff to do outreach, even to elected libertarians or registered libertarians in your state. Next is the Campaign Support Staff Database. This is another survey that is in your guys' email box right now. Essentially, this is an effort to start getting feedback from people across the country on if they either have experience or even ambitions to be any member of support staff for a campaign. So this is campaign manager, fundraiser, treasurer, copywriter, social media guy, you name it. With the intention of creating a database of all of these people so that moving forward, we can have a means by which we connect our candidates with those support staff. Next is the Candidate Material Vendor. These are libertarian-owned businesses that own print shops capable of printing anything that a candidate would need, from yard signs to trifolds to door hangers to whatever is needed, banners. And we have one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. And they have agreed to do bulk rate pricing as we start funneling our candidates to them. Training feed. This is something that's under development. It'll be coming out once the new party website is rolled out. And what this is that, one, the party has internal training that it's done. Recently, it's been doing training on a regular basis with a guy from the Leadership Institute. And so making all of that available, but also developing scripts to kind of pull the information from a bunch of third-party organizations like the Leadership Institute, like the Grassroots Leadership Academy, and like organizations, and kind of get all of the information upcoming trainings on one feed that is easy to then share with everybody, so that there is a suite of training available, so that training becomes the norm for our candidates. The Candidate Support LP page. This is one that I think is really important. Again, this is going to come out when the relaunch of the website is done. What this is there's a problem right now where the support materials that are available, take the template websites for candidates that are currently available. All of our support materials are disparate and kind of difficult to find. So the idea is to take the stuff that already exists and the stuff that I'm describing and have developed here And getting that all on one page that's easy to share, easy to promote, and easy to get in front of as many people as possible. Next is also the 50-state tour. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking to get in front of all 50 states to have this conversation about strategy, have this conversation about creating a collaborative relationship, seeing where we can work together, and getting feedback. Because again, this also has not been the norm. Somebody from national coming and kind of coordinating with you guys. Next is the affiliate handbook. This one was created by the folks down in Texas. This is more inter-party related, how to create a new affiliate, how to be a treasurer, how to recruit for an affiliate, something like 85 pages long. So that is a good resource. And then lastly is Ironlight. Ironlight is a data firm that has multiple libertarians at the leadership level of the organization. And they have information on every single voter in the country, which allows them to do polling services and survey services. Or if you needed to, you could buy more in-depth information than what comes natively with Voter Gravity, to enhance your data suite. And another thing about Voter Gravity that I forgot to mention is that the data that comes with it is exportable. So you could get that, tool for free for your state and export the full contact list if you wanted to. So I'm going to get started on the 10,000 foot view here. Is there any questions on the support materials? Cool. I can email this presentation with all of the links over after I'm done here. Okay, so what is Project Decentralized Revolution? This is a long-term, comprehensive, year-over-year political strategy that builds upon itself, and it was developed by identifying what are the three high-value propositions for our party, meaning what are the three things that the party engages in that has any pattern of success, any repeatable pattern of success in the things that we do. And those three things, once you start looking at the data, becomes very clear. That's local level races with teeth. So I'm talking city council, mayor, school board, seats that have the ability to actually affect liberty in real life. So we're not talking dog catcher. We're talking, with teeth. Issue coalition / legislative lobbying. Anybody who was involved in the Defend the Guard effort knows how effective this can be. I mean, that's an upstart lobbying effort, and in one sweep, in one pass through, it's already passed multiple state legislatures, multiple state houses, multiple state committees, and it's only a matter of time before it actually passes all the way. And then lastly is ballot access. So the idea is having these three high value propositions. How can we create a strategy that maximizes and synergizes between these three efforts year over year so that we're giving ourselves the absolute best opportunity to win and to affect liberty in real life? So again, I'm going to be starting at the 10,000 foot level and moving all the way down to the ground level. What do I do this year and that year exactly? So with that, what problems are we solving by trying to come up with this strategy at all? And so you might ask the question, well, what has the national LP done for us? And you know what? That's a fair question. That is a fair question. That's why it takes me coming out to be the first one in however long to knock on your door. And I also think, though, that there is a fair counter question to that, which is what is national supposed to be doing for the state parties? Now, this is something that seems like it should be obvious, but that doesn't actually have a clear answer. And I think the reason for that is because we don't have enough that we agree upon to bind us together in our actions. Basically, all we know about each other in the LP is that we're philosophically libertarian and that we are, in fact, a political party. However, that is not enough to inform action. Our principles are not enough to tell us what to actually do to achieve liberty. So what we need to do is have a shared vision, a shared set of goals, a shared set of tactics that orients all of us in the same direction so that by accepting this strategy, we can buy into, okay, national party, this is your role in the strategy. State party, this is our role. We both are in our lanes. We know where we intersect. We know what we're doing. And then that gives us unity of vision, but it also gives us clarity on how to properly evaluate each other and how we're doing our jobs and what jobs we're supposed to be doing. So without a strategy, it's unlikely that we're going to just randomly come together and have a unified vision of what we're here to do. In times past, that unified vision is we're here to win, which again is not enough to inform action. There's a wide range of things out there. We have resource constraints that have to be accounted for. And so that's why we go back to the three high value propositions. Where can we take our scarce resources and maximize for liberty in real life? So then you might ask, well, why PDR? I mean, okay, we need a strategy, but why this one? Why this particular strategy? Well, the LP is a political vehicle that was founded to do primarily two things. One is to expand the understanding of liberty within American society and culture. And then two is to use the political system to take our liberty back from the state wherever possible. Now, that wherever possible is a key word here, because in order to kind of hone in and aim properly, we have to be honest about where we are within political reality. We have to look at the data to tell us where we are within political reality and where our opportunities are. So what does that data say? Now, I'm going to use a snapshot of data from 2022 here, but I know people who have been working with the database going all the way back to the 90s, and that this is, in fact, a long-held pattern going back to the 90s. And at some point, I want to touch on what some people were talking about the high levels of membership in the past, because that's important. And it's important that we look at how and why we had high membership in the past. And how we were doing that even when our presidential candidates were getting 0.4% of the electorate. So what the data tells us is that the vast majority of libertarians are running for offices above the local level. They're running for county. They're running for statewide. They're running for federal office. And looking at this snapshot of data, there was something like 80 people, I think it was, or 80 people that ran for county level office. Of those 80 people, a single one of them won. It was like a district attorney in New York or something like that. Every single candidate above the county level lost out of about 700 candidates. But when you go down to local level and you again eliminate the quote unquote dog catchers and you isolate for these local level offices with teeth like city council, like mayor, and like school board, our candidates win those races at a 33% rate, which should be shocking and a huge white pill that we win anything at those rates. And so what this means is that the single most effective thing that we can be doing to take liberty back from the state is to invert the races that are being run by libertarians. We need to be running the majority of our candidates at the local level where we have the highest opportunity, and running a minority of candidates for these other unwinnable races like governor, like Senate, to achieve the other goals and synergize our high value propositions like ballot access, like recruitment, and things like that. So that demands of us to then create a strategy and create a campaign to incentivize people to run for local level and empower them with tools and training and data and support, and to prioritize those three high value propositions. So then you might say, well, who cares about local? I mean, we're not going to get on the front pages or on major media running for city council. And you know what? That's true too. But the fact of the matter is that by committing ourselves to the local level, we are maximizing our chances for success. We're maximizing our chances to win, which means that we're maximizing our chances to affect liberty in real life, which is the thing that we really should be after here. Is not how to be the best political party per se, but how to be the best vehicle towards creating liberty in real life, whether that's cultural, whether that's political, and maximizing for the high opportunities. And it also allows us to start building up a bench of winners to run for bigger seats in the future, like state house or state senate, things like this. Now, the thing here is that these positions have a lot of value to them because they essentially give you a double whammy of liberty. And they give you a double whammy of liberty by, one, the obvious thing. You win a local level seat, you get to affect local level things, local level spending, local level zoning, local level taxes and eminent domain and police policy and all of this kind of thing. And as we learned through COVID, extremely important. But the other thing is you actually have the power to affect national level issues from the local level seats through the power of nullification. And that's where the bread and butter here is. So what is nullification? Well, nullification is the understanding that Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution lays out what powers the federal government is supposed to have, what things they are supposed to have any say in whatsoever. And it's a very small list. And then you get to the 10th Amendment, and the 10th Amendment basically says anything not in Article 1, Section 8 explicitly is left to the states and the people, for the decisions. And the people in this context is the local governments, the localities. So the vast decision-making power is left to the states and the people. And they also understood that once the federal government started to usurp powers that were not delegated to them within Article 1, Section 5 of the Constitution, that we would never get it back, willfully, that this is a dangerous master. So the spirit that they came up with this concept was that if you usurp power that is not given to you, it's void. And it's up to us to then say that has no place here, period. It was a revolutionary attitude that we have got to reconcile ourselves with as a culture of liberty lovers and liberty warriors for, and take with us as we move forward. So the other high value proposition that I mentioned is issue coalitions. So issue coalitions, these are the single lowest barrier to entry way to affect liberty and have a good shot at affecting liberty. You can engage in issue coalitions, really just calling your reps or calling other reps. You can do this from the comfort of your toilet. You can do this if there's not a single libertarian on your ballot. You can do this if you have no active county affiliate. And so this is all about coalitioning around an issue. So again, all we're talking about is phone bombing here and phone campaigns to move an issue forward. So I would draw a distinction between coalitioning and recruitment. I would work with a communist on peace, but I would never recruit a communist into the party. These are two different things. And Ron Paul used to talk about how coalitions bring people together and make it so that nobody has to give up their principles. We'll talk more about issue coalitions and how powerful they are with some examples moving forward. But these can be used in areas where electoral victories are low likelihood. In major cities, say Atlanta, I'm sure it's 7 figures to win a city council seat there, which is going to put it out of reach for political reality there as well. So how can we win in those areas without winning? We'll get to that. So what I would say is that states, alongside our electoral strategy that we're going to be talking about, should also make campaigns with the same level of veracity around issues. Now, what those issues are, you guys need to decide. I can't tell you about your own Overton window, but what I would say is maybe take an issue of overlap with the left and take an issue of overlap with the right and make issue campaigns out of them and use them as the means to outreach and get this coalitioning work done. So before I move into a little bit more of the nuts and bolts, is there any questions at this point? And like I said, I especially want to hear from the skeptics because I want you to steel man me and tell me where the holes in this are, where can things be done better, all of that. Because I think just from what I've seen in your guys' meeting here, the fact that you're even using Basecamp at all tells me that you guys have a little bit more organization and sophistication than a lot of states that I've seen.
Yeah, we'll have to give, I think that's a Ryan Graham thing, so props to him. Mike, I think one of the big questions is what makes this different from what the party's done in the past? I've heard that this is, this has been done so many times. This was the strategy of the LP. This is just you repeating what we were already doing. So what's the difference, man?
I would say that the data does not bear that out. The data bears out that it's a tiny minority of people running for local level office and a majority of people running for unwinnable seats. And so I think what happens is that, maybe your state is better than average, but what's happening in a lot of states is there's just kind of a going along to get along. The year comes up. All right, everybody, this race is up for election. That race is up for election. Who's running for what? Oh, Frank, you're running for this. Congratulations. Thank you for your hard work. Blah, 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 blah. But there's no real aim. There's no real meat. There's no real vision. There's no real what's the goals and how do we achieve them? And you see this all over the place. There's no aim with the fundraising either. Like usually the fundraising is Christmas parties, conventions, and ballot access. And that's it. There is no electoral strategy to then inform the fundraising strategy which then comes together to form a recruitment. And again, these are all things that I'll cover more here. But I think just flatly, the data does not bear out that we are focusing on where the opportunities are best for us. I mean, if that's the case, then there should be numerous stories of not only people winning these elections, but introducing liberty legislation and increasing freedom in real life for us to report on. But we don't. you know, but we do know who's running for all these unwinnable races.
Thanks. I think we see another question out there.
I don't have the chat open, so if you can help me.
Andrea, I believe.
Yeah, sorry, I'm walking my dog, so if you hear barking, I apologize. So one of my questions is, if we're supposed to focus on local races and not the big races like Senate and things like that here in Georgia, and we're reliant on Senate races and things like that to get ballot access, and part of this plan is to achieve ballot access, those two pieces are contradictory. So can you explain how that works here in Georgia?
Sure, that I get into that here because again, it's not just about maximizing for local level races, and I'm going to get into that here because there aren't local level races every year. But you can construct things in such a way as to synergize between these three high value propositions, and I get into again the nuts and bolts exactly how you do that. But the short answer is, to kind of jump forward a little bit here, is in the years that you don't have local level races, what I would recommend is maximizing for state house, but those candidates are not going to win state house either. So the question in these situations becomes, how do you win without winning? And so I think we have to have a sober reality check on what is doable, make sure that our candidates understand that they're not going to win, and then basically say, hey, here's how you win without winning. Ostensibly run for state house, but aim the entire effort of that state house race in your locality. Knock every single door in that locality, become a known quantity there, and basically use the state house races as a bench program for your winnable local level races. So then if you do that, that also creates a situation where it creates an easy campaign framework for your statewide or your federals, meaning, let's say you run 15 state house races with the intent of trying to get most of these people as local level race the next year or the year after that. Well, then your federal candidate can just say, all right, my race consists of going to the districts where these candidates are, getting signatures for them while they get signatures for me, doing town halls so we can do them jointly, sharing contacts between volunteers and donors and things like this. And then what happens in that is that you end up defraying the cost of ballot access. Theory, like this happened in my state of Pennsylvania. We were able to get ballot access for free on an all volunteer effort last year for the first time in about 20 years by doing this. Now, different states have different challenges. That's why I'm using the word defray. I'm not saying New York is going to get free ballot access because New York is fucked, but it can at least help defray the cost of it. So in addition to that, I'm going to be skipping multiple slides because of answering this question. But also because of that, I would say have a look at historically what earns you ballot access, because sometimes it's not the obvious race. You guys have a special situation in Georgia where you're consistently getting into the Senate debates. So you absolutely positively need to be running for that race. That's a high value thing. But sometimes the ballot access is gained from things that you don't really think of, like auditor, or treasurer. Again, that's been the case in Pennsylvania. So I would say use the historical data to determine what brings you the closest historically to getting that ballot access, and then focus a minority of candidates on those while maximizing for the bench effort in those years. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Heiss.
Appreciate it. Any other questions before we keep going?
I see Mr. Sheehan in the chat. So if you want to ask a question, go for it.
Thank you. Yes. Mike, thanks for doing this. I see you've put a lot of thought and effort into this. A lot of good insights here. I was wondering if you could give us maybe 2 or 3 examples of, who are the templates of success at the local level that you would like to see replicated across the country.
The most obvious one is Aaron Lamb in Keansburg, Colorado. I think as a party, one thing that we can absolutely positively learn from Young Americans for Liberty is door knocking, door knocking, door knocking, door knocking, door knocking, door knocking. And as we get to later, I haven't exactly described yet how to aim the races. We're just talking about local broadly. but we can get even more granular to basically say, okay, what are the most winnable of the local level races? And then once you know what your win number is, you can game it out, because on average, for every 7 door knocks that you get, like interactions at the door that you get or that you knock, you get a vote on average. So, let's say you determine that you find 10 races that have 300 votes or less in the entire race. Well, then you know that race is winnable if you knock 2,100 doors. You know what I mean? So, and that's what Aaron Lamb did. And he beat a 12-term incumbent mayor in Colorado by doing this. And what ended up happening on the back of that is he started off small. It sounds kind of funny, like he legalized chickens, like he legalized ownership of chickens there. And then he legalized the sale of the eggs that were created by the chickens. But then, budget stuff started coming up, and they actually started to affect national level issues where it was like, we're not going to be spending any of our budget on migrants. And if you compare that, so one, they have now created a story on the biggest or second biggest issue, depending on what poll you're looking at in the country, and then contrasting that to, say, Denver, where the budgets are completely fucked, and taking a stand on that. And so what he's done by taking on this leadership is that he has now taken the chair of the school board, who is also on the city council, and flipped him Libertarian. And they have more elections coming up, so there's the chance at a Libertarian majority at Keensburg. And he's going to be chairing the candidate support committee as well.
Nice. I think that's what we've got for right now. You're free to move forward. Thank you.
Cool. So kind of already covered this. I'm going to be a little thrown off now because I jumped so far ahead. Yes, state house candidates, we should maximize for them in the years that we are not, we're not running locally. I guess I'll address this because I had mentioned, and I know some people, when I say things like we have to tell them that they're not going to win, you might take that as crass or, oh my God, you're not serious about winning and all of that stuff. I guess I'll address that here. I normally address that later, but it's actually very important that we do that, because I think with this top-down approach that we've been doing, relying on a presidential candidate to maintain our ballot access before we ever amass the army that is required to maintain that ballot access, that we've lost sight of what actually works and what's going to sustain us in the future, and we've given people false hope. And so, because we are unlikely to have our own Trump moment, right? Like it's extremely unlikely where some miracle libertarian is just going to come out of the ether, run for president, get some crazy unexpected result, and then we just live in a new country now. Like that is extremely, extremely unlikely. Which means that this is going to be a long-term thing. We're going to be Fabian libertarians, essentially. We're going to have to build trust among the culture from the ground up, because if you're running locally, you're necessarily working with the actual culture of the country, because culture emerges from the family up through the community. It's not imposed by the top down like the progressives are trying to make happen in any organic sense. And so by working in that committee or that community level, we actually build trust. And trust is something we don't talk enough about. Until we start to gain trust, they'll never listen to our principles, because right now being in the Libertarian in the LP comes at a political cost. So all of this to say is that there is no silver bullets. There's no short-term answers. It's going to take a while, which means that we need our soldiers on the field for as long as we can get them. And you can't, like, if you're setting people up to say, oh, yep, you're going to win this year, and blah, 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 and it's just not within reality. We are setting them up for failure, burnout, and checkout. And we see this. People who have been in the party for a long time, they see it. People come in the party through the presidential race, and then they're not there the next presidential race. There is a huge turnover problem, and that's because we are taking people and we are competing with their families, their careers, their jobs, their friends, their hobbies for their time, and we're not providing value. We don't have a viable pathway to say, this is how you be effective. We're just saying, well, maybe we can scrape ballot access another year and see what happens. That that might be cool for us who are like absolute philosophy nerds and shit, but that's not going to be a compelling argument for other people. So it's, in my opinion, absolutely integral that we are honest with people about where we are within political reality and how to win within this framework. Okay, so local role of the non-local level races and non-state house races. Now we're talking governor, senate, and all of that thing. These are, again, your ballot access races. These are your messaging races. These are your recruitment races. And another thing here that I don't think gets talked about enough is the capability of the candidates to be relationship nexus points. To talk to the other candidates, to talk to people who are already elected, and maybe find those issues of overlap to start in on an issue coalition. And that's something, again, that I think the issue coalitions are some of the highest value propositions we have. I'll go. Well, I guess I'll go into that now. And they should be employed in our big cities because we're not getting any political victories at the cities. We're not going to win any when even a city council seat costs millions of dollars. We're not going to win there. But what we can do in the cities is the cities tend to be cultural centers. They usually are very blue, which usually cause the Republicans there to be demoralized. So this allows for a strategy of focusing on those issue coalitions, using the candidates that do run in these cities as these kind of relationship vector points to establish those issue coalitions, focus recruitment on disaffected Republicans while shifting their Overton window and scoring an issue victory. Now, I'm going to tell a story on an issue victory on why these are so important. Back in 2019, a guy named Kevin Matthew ran a ballot initiative in Denver, Colorado to decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms. And it was the first major city to do so. And he won. And so what happened in the wake of that is a major psychedelic decriminalization movement is happening around the country now that is particularly effective in like Oregon, California, Michigan, and Massachusetts. But then you fast forward a few years to 2023, same guy is now leading a ballot initiative effort to decriminalize all naturally occurring psychedelics in the entire state of Colorado, and it wins. Okay, so the idea here is that if you score an issue victory in a major city, that can be a major, major domino effect for that issue around the rest of the state, and in certain instances around the rest of the country. And if the value that we're after here is liberty in real life, that, I mean, what is bigger than that, like politically? All right, so I was a little discombobulated answering that question. I'm going to get into the very nuts and bolts now, like the street level. Like, what do you do year one? So is there any questions there? Like, what is the campaign? What do you do at a street level? Is there any questions, comments at this point? All right, I'll keep going. So like I had mentioned earlier, PDR has a national campaign that we're going to be running. Doing PDR at the national level is going to be different than doing PDR at the state level. The national level can help with facilitation and support and things like that, but the nuts and bolts are going to have to be done at the state level. And so we can help by running our campaign, raising money to help support candidates, to help interview candidates and determine who the strongest of all the candidates are running that are highest likelihood of winning, making training available, making the support materials I outlined available, and working collaboratively with the affiliates on how to support these candidates, field feedback, and kind of keep each other in check on who's doing their job. Now, I mentioned a campaign. What do I mean by that? What is the campaign? Everything that I've described is not a campaign. It's a strategy. A campaign has a set of defined goals, a defined set of tactics to then achieve those goals, a defined fundraising goal and tactic to fuel those tactics to achieve the goal, and then finally a marketing effort to raise the money to fuel the tactics to achieve the goals. You smack that all together, that is a campaign. And this goes into one of the other things that I'm doing with my job at National is kind of revolutionizing the fundraising away from ad hoc fundraising to project-based fundraising. So this campaign goals, what are the goals of that campaign? Well, one, it's to elect an additional 100 local level candidates by the end of 26. If we use our 33% win rate, that says that we need to run 350 candidates or so in that time. Out of those 350, we're going to have to identify 150 of them to give ourselves a buffer as high likelihood winners, and then give those people our material and promotional support. So if we average $2,000 of support per for those 150 candidates, that means our fundraising goal is $350,000 over the next 2 years to fuel this campaign. So in this sense, PDR is a fundraiser as well as a strategy. So what is the candidate support going to be doing? First one, number 3 should probably be number 1. Where the hell are we getting these 350 candidates? Well, they're going to be calling everybody who has run as a Libertarian in the past 5 years, which is thousands of people, and seeing if we can't get them to run for these types of races in the next 2 years. 2, they can act as a filter by interviewing the candidates that fill out a survey to kind of find those 150 strong candidates and get the support to them. And then the other thing that is really important is to establish a communication channel of the elected Libertarians that we already have. We have a real problem in this party where we have no way of knowing or reporting on the good news of the service of our electeds. You know, if you have an elected Libertarian serving in a city council somewhere and they're putting forward liberty legislation, we don't know about it. We don't have any way of knowing about it, let alone reporting on it. And we're not developing in-house training from our elected Libertarians. And we're also not doing a good job of making our electeds the face of the party, you know, and again, a vector for this good news to then white pill people more and more in an increasingly dark age. So, you know, those are the 3 things that the committee is going to be doing. So now we get into the actual nuts and bolts. What exactly am I asking you guys to do with us? I'm going to assume a 4-year cycle of local level races in 25, statewide in 26, locals in 27, and then statewide and presidential again in 28. Not every single state follows this formula. Jersey is not like that, but that's okay. The pattern still holds. And then I'm also going to be focusing on electoral. We went over coalitions. Those should be separate campaigns in and of themselves. So I've talked a lot about local and that's where our opportunities are, but that's still not enough to inform action. That's not enough to say, okay, but which local level races? I have like 50 counties and 400 localities. What the hell do I aim at? Well, step 1 is determining the answer to that question. And that's what I call the data suite. Now, luckily, most of this is patternistic, so you shouldn't have to do this every single year. But the idea here is that sheet that I showed you earlier with all of the county level offices, start getting all of the election data for the past 5 years from those county offices. That's where you're going to get the data and the election results for your local level races. And the idea, and you know, I don't know how many counties are in Georgia. If you have it relatively easy in that sense, you know, you can do all of the counties. You can do the counties where you have an active affiliate, you know, whatever it, you know, don't be a tyrant to yourself and take on an unachievable goal.
Mr. Heist, just wanted to let you know you have 5 minutes remaining. Also, Georgia has 159 counties.
Goddamn. Okay. So yeah, find a way to pare that down. But the idea is that you're looking for the lowest rung of races. So that means the races that consistently have the lowest vote totals to start creating your own campaign around. So let's say, again, you start to parse this data. You find 10 seats that have 200 votes or less. This is now the first basis for the state to start creating their own campaign around recruiting and supporting candidates running for a local level, and in particularly these super high likelihood local level races. Again, Pennsylvania did such a data suite. We have over 60 counties, and we found that there were over 3 dozen races for city council, mayor, and school board where the entire race consisted of 50 votes or less. So again, you knock 100 doors or something like that, you friggin' win. You know, like it's you can game it out at that point. Now, it's important to decide on a political strategy because, again, the political strategy informs what your fundraising strategy and your fundraising ask is going to be. And once you have a political strategy to then make fundraising asks for, those 2 things come together to inform your recruitment strategy. And you know, now you have an actual pitch. Like you guys, somebody was talking about you have to call your lapsed donors and stuff like that. They're going to say, they might ask you, well, what are you guys working on? What's exactly there to work on? And you have to have a viable answer. And then this is the other thing that I will absolutely hammer home in the strongest possible terms. In today's world where everyone's email box is filled up and their Facebook message box is filled up and their Twitter inbox box is filled up and their Signal chat shit is filled up and there's all this bullshit, the phone call in today's world is the difference, the personal touch. So if you're not phone banking, you're not serious. Point blank, period. emails are good, mailers are good, but they're passive and they have they have lower average response rates. The phone call is the difference maker. So don't expect any results at all on anything, whether you're not, if you're not phone banking, period. Okay, so let's say you've found these 10 candidates that have 200 votes or less, and how do you determine a fundraising goal? So let's say they're going to run hard for 6 months, and the cost of voter gravity is $100 a month. 10 candidates, it's for voter gravity, it's 6 months, $100 a month. You now come up with a $6,000 fundraising goal. So you now have a strategy. You have a fundraising goal. Hey, we're going to get professional tools to our candidates. We need $6,000 to give every single one of them professional door knocking, phone banking, and text banking tools. And you know, we're going to see to it that that happens. And you know, you're letting people know what the donations will be going for. You then have the opportunity to come back and say, yep, thanks to you, we were able to achieve that. And they have their tools now. Here's the next goal, and ask for more money. And you have that feedback mechanism with donors to kind of get precise on what you're doing with the money and why they should give you more money in the future. And this is also where the National Party can start to incentive, you know, because again, this is a lot more organized than a lot of states are doing. And I understand that. So the idea is, can you raise 4,000? Well, if the National Party is making money on its national campaign, maybe we can kick in that other $2,000 to get you over the hump and serve it as an incentive to even get to this level of activity. So then again, you can call it the Georgia Freedom Project or something. But the idea is that once you create this campaign, okay, we got these 10 seats that are winning. And if we win at a 33% rate, we're going to have 3 city councilors and we're going to have power and we're going to elevate these people and yada, yada, yada. You now have all the white pills to reach out to your members, your lapsed members, and your registered libertarians to try to maximize for candidates and support. So this is where it starts to build on itself. I might ask for like 3 more minutes. I'm extremely close to the end. But where it starts to build on itself is, that sounds like a lot of work. Like, holy shit, I'm going to do all this phone banking. I might get 3 city councilors. Well, hear me out. If you get to year 2 and you run, I don't know, 15 of these state house races, right? And then you get the commitment from 10 of them to run for local level seats the next year around. Plus, you also go on another phone banking campaign in year 3 when its locals are up again, and you recruit another 10 people. Well, now you have 20 people to run, and at that 30% rate, now you have 6 people who win on top of the 3 who already won, and you can start to see how this snowballs. And all you're doing along the way is lowering what that, or heightening what that bottom rung of races is each year, and increasing that campaign. And then hopefully, as you're doing this, again, if you get 2 winners, 3 winners, you're developing training. These are becoming the faces of your party. We're reporting, like, we're arming them with nullification legislation. They're expanding liberty in real life, which then gives you all the content that you need to reach out to your people.
Your 45 minutes has expired. Although if there is no objection, perhaps you can continue for a few more minutes.
Literally 2 minutes. I would say at this point, I'm at the point of rinse and repeat. Like, I'm at the point of, you know, it rolls over at this point. So I would more say, does anyone have any questions? And again, anybody, and especially from you, Doug, because you seem pretty critical. I want to hear from you. I want to hear the straw man, the steel man. I want to hear where, you know, what is the alternative? Where does this week? You know, I want to hear the feedback.
Sounds like Mr. Craig has left the chat, but I do see Mr. Johnson had his hand up for a while, and then Mr. Allen.
Yes, thank you, Michael. I just wanted to know if, from the point of view of PDR, how do high likelihood candidates get selected?
So that's what the data sweep is about. In general, local level is going to be higher likely federal, but the data sweep is about identifying, hey, which of the races across our state have our city council, mayor, school board, or, you know, sometimes they're different names like alderman and shit like that. But like, by reviewing that data, you can find, okay, what's a city, or how many city council races have 100 votes or less? Now, maybe you only get 2, so you raise it by another 100. Okay, how many have 200 or less? Now, maybe you hit that point where there's 10, 15 of them, and you form the basis of your campaign. But essentially, that data sweep, which sucks, the work of that sucks, but it's extremely vital, you know, to informing the answer to your question.
right. I see Mr. Allen, Mr. Mosley.
Mr. Johnson asked the question I was going to ask, essentially. Thank you.
Okay. Identifying candidates. Good. Mr. Mosley?
Sure. Michael, you don't really want to put me in the skeptic box. I think there's a lot of good ideas that you're presenting here. I just want to suggest something that you haven't mentioned, maybe peripherally, but it's top of my mind most of the time, and that's what I call the spiritual part of our work.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is that it is important, vitally important, that all of us learn to keep our spirits high and support each other in having high spirits. And two quick, simple techniques for doing that is to acknowledge and to celebrate people. There are people on this call tonight who have done extraordinary things that, well, I'll just name them right now. Colin McKinney, Elizabeth Melton, Victoria Salvia, all stood up and were public service commissioner candidates at a time when we sorely needed them. That was a tremendous act of courage. And I think that they will all tell you, I don't mean to put words in their mouth, that they grew from that act, even though that was an unwinnable race. Also, Christine Austin has been a candidate. And let's see who else. I'm looking down the list. Laura Owens and Warren Cunningham, if they're here, were tremendous supporters of Clinton Cowart in Savannah. All of these people need to be acknowledged and celebrated. We don't do that enough. And it's been an ongoing thing. And I would suggest that you pay more attention to this. And I'm going to share with you something right quick, if I can get to it. It's a link.
I'm going to get out of screen sharing.
Okay. This is for everybody, but Michael, I want you to, if you're not aware of this, I'd like for you to check it out. This is a link to a video. Well, the first national convention I attended was in 1998. The link in the chat is a video of a candidate forum with 5 local candidates across the nation, elected local candidates. 2 of them were from Georgia. One was Bruce Van Buren from Avondale Estate, that's a suburb of Atlanta. And the other was Dwayne Matheny, who was in Auburn, Georgia, which is over on the east side of the state. But my point here to Michael and really all of you is that this is in 1998, and we had elected libertarians for local office. And my question is, where did they go? What have we? Shouldn't we be in touch with these people? And in the entire history of the LPGA, in my experience, which is from about the mid-90s to today, there are probably a dozen or so people who have been elected to local office, just like you've described, Michael. And Michael, I have no objection to your distinction between winnable races and unwinnable races. And we should, for the things like the statewide races and the Senate, U.S. Senate races, stuff like that, it's important that we do run candidates for those races, in my opinion, but they need to be low budget, non-delusional races that we run with candidates who are not delusional about what the reality is. And Michael, you said that in your presentation in a different way, but those other races have very important things to offer us. So I just wanted to share that. I'm not a skeptic, Michael. But I do think there are a couple things that should be added, and I just wanted to throw that out. And
I upped my cadence. I upped my cadence by about 2.5 times to try to blast through that. I think what you're describing can be summarized as culture. You know what I mean? Like the party culture. And the party culture has not been good. And I think a lot of that, like when you don't have an agreed upon vision and you don't have an agreed upon set of goals and you don't have an agreed upon set of tactics, that it invites the vacuum. And I think that's part of what we're at. I tried to address what you're saying by saying we need to make our electeds the face of our party, because there's a lot of bad news all the time, and we need to set something again. That's why I have it was me who created the charter. That's why I have the candidate support committee reaching out to all of our electeds and kind of creating this mechanism by which they can tell us, okay, I introduced this liberty legislation in my locality and so on and so forth, so that we can actually start reporting on the good news. Last thing I'll say, and this is a little bit of a side note, is Mark, you've been around since the mid-90s, you said? Am I correct in guessing that when you guys were at your peak, it was like 1999 to 2001? Something like that?
Well, what do you mean we're at our peak? You mean in terms of national membership levels?
Not even national, state. Like somebody was saying that the state level, because I've done a lot of donor data and things like that, and it's like the party consistently hovers around 2 million, right? And then you get to 2001 to 2002, it's like 8 million. You get to 1999 and 2000, it's like 6 million. And I think a lot of this has to do with Harry Brown and Project Archimedes, and how they were utilizing data to inform marketing campaigns, which is something that has not been done in a very long time, and something that we need to get back to.
Yes, the Harry Brown and Perry Willis Archimedes project from that period of time, which is around the year 2000, was extremely instrumental in creating an excitement among those of us who were at that time. Well, I guess I sort of am kind of a newbie. And at that time, I was what I call an EBC. That's an acronym for excited but clueless. And they kept me excited. And that's what I mean by the spiritual part of our work. And we've lost a lot of that. And so I just wanted to call your attention to that. That it's important for every single one of us here to keep our spirits high. And it's important for every one of us to look to the guy to our right and the guy to our left. And if their spirits are low, what can you do? What can you say? A kind word in a difficult moment. I don't know what that is, but it is my job to support all of you to keeping your spirits high. And I invite all of you to ask yourself if your actions that you took today support that end or something else. And I'll leave it there. Thank you, Michael.
As far as Archimedes, I will say that one of the I've developed 9 campaigns, and this is just the most in-depth of them, which is why I'm doing the 50-state thing. But one of the campaigns that we have the intention of rolling out is what we're calling Neo Archimedes. And I've been in touch with Jim, in touch with Perry Willis about how they did what they did and how we might be able to modernize it. If we're not raising and spending money on essentially the collection of data to then launch a serious marketing campaign, it's going to be tough to grow the membership base in any meaningful sense. Any other questions?
We have to keep talking.
Oh, sorry. Any other questions or feedback?
I think we're good. I don't see anyone else out there, so I think we're cooking.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for your time.
Yes, thank you, Mike. We look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Cool. Have a good night.
Take care. All right, it's about 9 o'clock. What's the feel of the room? Do we want to keep going? Do we want to adjourn? I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, all that's left are the reports. So maybe if everybody could be quick, we could get everything done.
Okay. Then we will go ahead with that. As far as the chair's report. I think we've dealt with a lot of that tonight. On my end, Mr. Placey, would you mind sharing your screen when you get a chance? As far as everything else is concerned, we just finished the Great Create. It was a good time. Lots of good stuff going on. In my chair's report, I don't have any other updates as far as news goes. We do on Wednesday have the Rules for Radicals book study. If you haven't gotten your book, go ahead and do it. You can find it on Everand or Audible as well for pretty low cost. And we'll just be running through the prologue and chapter 1. So that's all I have. Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay, yes. I approved an executive director vacation for last week. She very well deserved, and she's already back at it. We designated our statewide poll watchers for advanced voting with help from our friends at the Coalition for Good Governance. And we also designated some poll watchers for advanced voting in DeKalb County. In fact, I will be getting up early tomorrow morning to go out over to DeKalb for when our candidate, Chase Oliver, will be voting. And that's
very nice.
All I have there. And also, of course, we'll take any questions regarding public policy. We did put out our 2024 voter guide.
Awesome. Elizabeth, are you on?
I think
Can
she
you
was
hear me?
on. Oh, hello.
Yeah, so I'll just make it quick and say that we finished the Great Create. I'm so glad that that is behind me and looking forward to moving on and doing other things. We raised about a little over $1,600, which is not as much as I had hoped that we would raise, but a little bit more than I expected to have raised. And so I want to thank everyone that participated in that. And in spite of the bad weather and everything that we were dealing with, it ended up coming together. So again, thanks to everyone who lent a hand in making that happen. And I look forward to coming back at the next XCOM meeting and talking about something else. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. A very quick secretary's report. I know there were a few things on there. Mr. Placey, it's all you.
I actually do have a report today because we had 2 e-ballots since the last executive committee meeting. One where we filled the vacancy arising last month, and another where we voted to sign on to an amicus brief of voter GA regarding the Dominion voting machines. So the details on those 2 are in the report. And keep your eye out for the e-ballot on the current executive committee vacancy.
Awesome. Mr. Moldenhauer, are you on?
Hello. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay. So let's see. I'll share my screen. Okay, so I'll post what I've been doing recently as far as these interactive dashboards, but I have Q3 regulatory. I had Q3 regulatory reports I had to give to the IRS and the FEC, so I've been busy with that along with presenting at the Great Create. So I'll probably post this towards next weekend. So the more revenue came in from the Great Create. The dust for that, as far as all of our expenses and all of our revenue, will probably settle over the next couple days. still reimbursing and the updating things from cash deposits. So I was seeing some questions in the chat about that, and I will need some people's help as far as the contacts and reaching out to people, but I will be compiling and posting the numbers. Close to breaking even this month. The majority of the cash already came in from the Great Create, and then we were paying more of the expenses. When I was saying this month, I meant September. We were paying more of the expenses for the Great Create in September, so thus there was a spike of expenses, and as far as relationship to our budget, we were doing better than usual and better than expected on membership income for 2024, but lower than expected on pledge income, and mostly on track for donation income, and then doing better than expected for event income. That's as far as the larger scale stuff. I talked more about that last meeting. I don't think there's anything else particularly special to say on the treasurer's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moldenhauer. All right. I think that's all of them. So if there's no objection,
I move to adjourn.
Wow.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Those in favor, please raise your hands. All right, you can lower them. There's still some hands up, but regardless, those opposed. The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.